Welcome to the Hussbus road trip. We're going to sit down and hang out with a bunch of like-minded people and just talk. Might get awkward, it might not. Who knows? Make sure you tune in. All right, what is up, everybody? Got my buddy Johnny Fields Appraisals. What's up, man?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Good. The first ever Hussbus road trip podcast. You're the first one. You know?
I'm honored. Yeah,
it's cool.
That's cool.
We got the basketball net here. We'll talk about that later. That'll be at the end.
All right.
But Fields Appraisals, right?
Yep.
That's local appraisal.
Yep, we're right out of Norristown.
Great. Well, before we get, how are the kids? Kids good?
Kids are good. Kids are great.
Hockey season?
It's in full swing. I'm coaching both their teams.
That's full year, right?
It's basically August through March.
August through March, okay.
I get the summer off, I can golf.
Yeah, right. I mean, kids' sports are nuts. I got, we have soccer and football right now.
Okay.
But then we just had baseball tryouts, and there's fall baseball.
Oh, my goodness.
You have that, and next week you have basketball tryouts.
That's nuts.
It's
baseball
insane.
Year round for your boy already?
Basically.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's Jameson.
Yeah.
He's the 8-year-old, and then you got Tripp, football.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not like when we played back in the day.
It was one sport a season.
One sport, with baseball, hockey, is there like club teams for hockey, like select teams too?
Yeah, so it's tiered, like you can make the highest tiered team and like travel farther and like spend more time and
do the whole thing. That's what happened with baseball right now. That's how it is. Like we have in fact an Audubon travel.
Yep.
But then kids go play select teams too.
That's crazy.
So they might be playing on 2 or 3 teams. I don't know how people do it. Driving all over the place. Nah. I mean, you as an appraiser, obviously you drive everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't want to be driving anymore.
And hockey's nuts. I'm at it from D.C. all the way up to Boston.
Is that how far it goes?
For Johnny's league, I'm pretty much New York to D.C.
New York to D.C.
Yeah.
Gee, and he's a decent player, too,
He's
right?
a decent player, but like there's a step above him, and they're going Boston all the way to Virginia. And,
yeah. Well, we don't have your bro Joe here.
No, he was the hockey star.
I know, but you were the fighter though, right?
Not a fighter. Either. No, I was a scrub.
The scrub kind of do what you had to do.
Yep.
Nice. All right, cool. So first day of fall, I had that written down.
Yeah.
Right. Shorts, hoodie, you see it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's my favorite outfit.
Nice.
Cold in the
what
morning.
I picture you in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. It's basically what I wear anyway. I was reading something this morning where it's like 6 a.m.'s winter. Then like 10 a.m.'s fall, and then in PA around here, of course, like 2 p.m. summer. That's what it is right now in the Philly area.
Joe and I have a member tournament this weekend.
Oh,
it's supposed to be like 40 degrees.
At Bluebell?
Yeah, we're supposed to be like 40 degrees in the morning when we get to the range.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a whole thing on it, and then you're gonna be shedding
layers all day.
I know. It's kind of like what I told you yesterday. We almost did this podcast shirtless. I was gonna do it. No, I'm kidding.
You backed out.
No, I freaked him out yesterday. Anyway, let's get into it. So, the point of this new podcast, right, is to spotlight our good friends, having friends on here, but maybe in the industry. It doesn't have to all be mortgages. I'm telling everyone.
Yep.
I'm going to have some, my buddy who's a cook on here. I'm going to have my buddy Jamie Smigo, who's a first sergeant in the U.S. Army.
Oh, that's
awesome. We're going to do stuff like that. So, it's just really just having a fun convo, but spotlight and see what you do as a human being.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
So back to it. So Fields Appraisals, right?
Yep.
Tell us how the business started. I know it's mom and dad a bit.
So mom started. She worked for another company for a while,
right?
And when me and Joe went away to college, my mom convinced my dad to quit his job. He owned a car. He was part owner of a car dealership.
Yeah. Okay.
Sold his interest. Started doing it with her. And started growing it while we were in college. And once we got out, we had a place to... I worked for a pharmaceutical company for like a year and a half, and I hated it.
Yeah, right.
And so they brought me in. They brought my brother in. We've got aunts and uncles that are certified that are on their own now.
Nice.
And our office itself has 8 appraisers in it.
Yeah, this is what I love. Like, so we own this, of course, the Hussy team, the mortgage.
Yeah.
You got Nick, our whole family's insurance.
Yeah.
So this is what I love. Like, just the local small business...
And it's awesome.
And it's great. I mean, it's great, man.
Working with your brother every day, your family.
Yeah.
No stress.
And
somebody has your back.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
On vacation, somebody's
We talked about that. You always have that. Because, I mean, for real, like, we deal with, and we'll get into how appraisers are picked maybe at some point with the mortgage side. But it's great when we do see your name once it comes through. We don't know it's you in the beginning.
Right.
But then we get and we're like, yes, and it's always back quick.
Nice,
and I think that's good efficiency in this industry. I mean, you have to be.
And having the 8 appraisers, I always have somebody in the area.
Yeah.
So if you get one in Delco, I have somebody going there tomorrow.
Yeah, because you guys, It's Philly, right?
Yeah.
Located in Norristown, right?
Yeah.
But Philly, Bucks, Delco, Monco, Chesco. That's where you want to stay.
That's primarily. We're starting to move into Lehigh and Berks now as well.
Yeah. And there's big appraisal companies that do nationwide. I guess there are nationwide.
They're
ones,
nationwide
right?
appraisal management companies. But they assign. So on those websites, I have to fill in like what areas I cover.
Got it.
And they'll assign to me if it's in that area.
Right. That's the AMCs that we've talked about.
Yes.
Right. So to give everyone an idea, on the mortgage side, if we order an appraisal, right, it goes through an AMC, this appraisal management company.
Yep.
And then they go and I always used to say they bid it out. But is that even the right word to use anymore?
It depends on the appraisal management company. So some of them still submit bid requests, so they'll send it out to 50 or 100 appraisers and ask for your fastest turn time and your fee.
Got it. Got it.
The majority of them now have moved more to a direct, we establish what our fee is with them, and they assign it to us if we're next on the... They run like a panel, but it's like a random assignment.
It's
so
a
that
random.
way the mortgage guy can't pick who it's going
Right,
to.
right.
So it's random assignment, but they already have an established fee with us.
And they track quality, right, and speed.
Yes.
I think we talked about that before. So have they always done that?
They've always tracked turn time. They've gotten a lot better at tracking quality.
Okay.
So Fannie and Freddie put out these things called an SSR score.
Yeah, right.
So it analyzes the risk of the appraisal. Mm-hmm. If your SSR score is below, I think it's below, if it's a 1, they won't lend on it.
Okay.
So I need to make sure that the quality of my report supports the values that I'm given.
Got it.
And as long as they're supporting it, and as long as they're supporting the value and they're not risky, that gives me a better quality score.
Got it. And they track that, obviously, because they're trying to fine-tune this system.
Yes, and you don't, as a company, you don't want an appraisal that's coming in and being super risky to where your loans don't close.
Of course not, right.
And you want something that's coming back in a relatively quick amount of time.
Yeah.
If it's taking 2 weeks to turn an appraisal in, everybody's waiting around. Everybody's trying to see, well, where is it? What's it coming in at?
Yeah, I don't think that, like, the general consumer sometimes, and no fault to them, how complex, how many moving parts, deadlines need to be met, how much is behind the scenes.
Yes.
And that's the point. It's like kind of breaking in of here's how it actually works.
And
you know?
usually at the end of that chain.
I know.
So you've usually already had, you got your rate locked. You've got the home inspection done. All your contingencies are set. I'm the one that's coming out 2 weeks before settlement, 3 weeks before settlement.
Yeah.
So everything now has gotten through to me. It's all hinging on me getting it back.
Yeah.
So the faster I get it back, that's the last thing a seller's waiting on is, oh my God, does it appraise?
Yeah.
And
it's obviously one of the biggest pieces of the whole thing.
And I don't want them calling their mortgage guy 4 or 5 times before I get it in. I want to have it in 48 hours. We're usually 48 hours after inspection. I have the report submitted.
Yeah. No, you guys are great. Yeah, it happens all the time. Sometimes you're waiting around for 2 weeks.
Right.
But I always say when things aren't back as quick, like appraisers, like sometimes it gets too robotic. And people are like, where is it? What the hell? And it's like, dude, he's a human being, too.
Yes.
Maybe he had something going on. He's got to drive out. Dude, I can do my job in my underwear on the mortgage side. I don't need to drive anywhere, really. Everything can be over the computer. So, like, people need to know there's a human element involved sometimes.
There absolutely is. And it's definitely harder on, like, the single appraiser. So we have a lot of friends of ours that are just, they're one-man shops.
Oh, yeah.
They run everything. They're the only appraiser. And for them, if they've already booked out 4 days and they're in Philly, Bucks, Chester, it's hard to get to something in Delco. So now you're looking at 5 days.
Traffic,
out for that.
like who knows?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I started early. My first one between 7:30 and 8.
Yeah, you just get out there.
Yeah.
Lockbox, whatever, you can get in sometimes, whatever.
And homeowners love it for the refi because I'm in and out before they have to leave for work. They don't take any time off. So
no doubt.
My first appointment every day is between 7:30 and 8 so I can beat the traffic out. And then I usually get 2 or 3 in the same area. So I'm there during rush hour, and then I'm coming back after.
Yeah. All right, well, let's break it down. Really simple, all right? So I have a question here. What is an appraisal?
Appraisal is a determination of market value. It's my opinion of market value at the time of my inspection. So there are prospective and past appraisals where I can use it at a different time. But 99% of our work is all the day I inspect it, what I think it would sell for.
Right, exactly. That day. People need to know. Like, I'm sure you get some comps. You're speaking to listing agent, whoever it is, and it's like, oh, this is a little too old. People need to know. It's like right away. It's today.
Yeah, it's what it sells for today. And it also matters for things like pending sales.
Right.
So If an agent has a pending sale in their neighborhood that is going to support value once it settles, they should wait till it settles.
Correct. That's a big question, right? People
Yes.
give pending sales all the time.
Yes.
And it's like, you can't use that because, number one, what if it doesn't close? It's pending.
Yep.
But we know if they need a mortgage, what if they lose their job, something happens, like that has to be closed.
And I need to use what's called historical data in order to support my opinion of value. I can't use what I think something's going to sell for because it hasn't closed yet. So it needs to be historical data. So if we are...
I'm listening.
Yeah, so as long as it's already settled, I can include it. So if you have something where, the pending sale is going to settle before your settlement date, hold me off.
Now, what if it doesn't hit public record, MLS, Bright, or whatever?
Needs to be through MLS if I'm going to use it 99% of the time.
You couldn't be like, hey, here's the final closing disclosure, the Alta. Like, not saying they would give that to you, but is there any proof that you could use?
There is. So we do that a lot with builders. So a lot of builders don't market their homes on the MLS, so they will actually give us the settlement sheets, the closing.
And sometimes that can work.
And that can work because I have a verifiable source. I have a picture of the house. I can see that it's completed. They'll give me a list of the upgrades and options, so I'll know the details of that home when I'm using it in an appraisal.
Got it.
But if something sells, and let's just say it's in public records, but it was never listed in the MLS, I don't know what the condition of that house was.
Yeah,
I don't know what the condition of that sale was. They could have sold it with both cars in the garage.
Yeah.
Oh,
personal property, things like that.
Or concessions, or who knows what. So since I don't know the conditions of the sale and I don't have an unbiased source to verify it through, it makes it really, really difficult to use it as a comp. The few times in which we're able to use it is if we actually did the appraisal.
That makes sense.
If I actually did the appraisal, I have a copy of the agreement of sale. I know what the conditions of the sale were. I know if it was arm's length or if it was to a nephew or something like that. So if I have that information, I can use it as a comp.
Yeah.
But if I don't have that information, I can't really rely on it.
Now, you said concessions, right? Yeah. So seller's assist, concessions. How much does that weigh on the actual value?
So
I always wanted to know that.
I don't consider them at all.
Okay.
My value is what I think the market value of it is that day. The difficulty with concessions is a lot of times people try to say, well, the house is worth $250, but I'm going to pay $260 so you can give me $10,000 back at settlement. The problem with that is if the house is only worth $250, now I can't get to the sales price of $260.
So where do concessions even matter for your job is what I'm like, how does it affect?
It really doesn't.
It really doesn't. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Because people say all the time, well, like you said, $260, we're giving 10 back, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't think it matters when it comes to the appraisal.
The house is worth.
Right. It's really that simple.
It really is. So I'm not factoring that in at all. The only cases in which I'm even looking at concessions are maybe on comps. Especially now with like stucco remediation. You'll see things that have sold with like $50,000 in concessions. And it's because their stucco was in poor shape.
Got it.
And now I have to take that into account when I'm comparing it to other houses in the neighborhood that might have already had that remediation.
So that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So you have to actually see what the concession maybe is for.
Yes.
And then that can help you.
And how significant of a concession it is. I mean, if it's $2,500, it's probably for something like a
something
broken
stupid
gutter.
Yeah.
In which case, I'm not factoring it in at all because most houses have those problems before they sell.
So everyone listening out there, real estate agents, consumers, because we'll hear it a lot. We're giving $10,000 or whatever. It's more about what the concession is for, if it could even matter.
If it even matters at all.
It's not monetary is what I'm trying to highlight here.
Right.
It's not like, $10,000, blah, blah, blah. No, it's what it's actually for, and that could affect what it is, all depending.
Yes.
Like you said, stucco, whatever.
Yeah, and that's usually just with comps. On the subject property, if I'm doing the actual appraisal of that
Correct,
house,
okay.
That
doesn't matter at all.
I don't care what you're using it
all
for.
About
the
comps.
value is the value.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going through here. We talked about turn times. Let's talk communication.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, you got into the business, I guess this was probably early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of when
405.
When you were in college, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's when I started doing my training.
That's right. I'm older than you.
Yeah, you are.
I know. It's messed up, right? I'll be 40 in December. It's nuts.
No, I am 40.
You are 40,
yeah,
so you're older than me.
I am older. I thought I was.
So, no, Joe is
Joe's
younger than me.
Yeah.
What an asshole. I don't really like him. All right, so communication. So, obviously, before the crash, 2008, it was different back then.
Oh, my God. It was.
Right?
I was talking to a mortgage guy
all the
2
time.
hours a day.
And obviously, ethics, integrity, all that stuff. I know you're a great dude.
Yes.
But there was funny business that happened back in the day.
Oh my goodness.
Outside there. And that was a part of what part of the piece of why it kind of came. So what was the weird stuff that was going on back then?
So you'd have the pressure that you had for your appraisals back then was a lot. They got to determine who got the appraisal. They got to determine who it was assigned to.
Nuts.
They got
Obviously, if you think about that, a lot of weird stuff can happen.
So if you're not making values and their loans aren't closing, some of those guys were unhappy with you. All of a sudden, you don't get work from that bank anymore.
Yep.
So now with the appraisal management companies in between that are really judging us more on quality than the number.
And that's good. That protects everyone.
Protects everyone.
It's got to.
Yeah, and we need it because obviously last time they went through the roof and then we had a huge crash. And if we can avoid that at all possible, I mean, it's going to be better for everybody.
Obviously. Right.
So now that they put that middleman in, all of our communication goes through that AMC usually.
Yeah.
There are a couple lenders that still do direct, in which case I'm able to send messages through their portal system to discuss.
But everything's tracked, communication's all tracked.
Yeah.
Now, in our world, so we've always, when I got in, it was like, never speak to the appraiser, right? Because the pendulum really flew this side, right?
And, oh my God, after HVCC, it was...
But there's certain situations where, like, I'm allowed to call you.
Yes, we're not allowed to discuss
value. Correct. Just don't talk value, basically. But you could, like, I guess I can call you and be like, yo, actually, I wouldn't know if you were the appraiser.
Yeah, not until after it's assigned.
That's what I mean.
But if you have something like, let's say...
Well, I would know, because the listing agent could call me and be like, yo, it's Fields.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
And then I could know.
Yeah.
And then, let's say it is 3 weeks. I could call you and be like, yo, everything good, man?
Right. Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? You can do that.
Turn times. I talk to loan officers all the time about, right now, there's been a whole lot of products that have been switching from conventional to FHA.
You're seeing a lot more of that right now?
We really are.
Interesting.
And so...
Can I stop you there real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So it's always better to start, if you don't know what product,
start FHA.
Start FHA, and we'll get into FHA in a minute. And then if you got to go conventional, when you go conventional FHA,
I have to do a new inspection.
It's a brand new inspection. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But those kind of things are things I can discuss with the loan officer. So if the loan officer calls and says, hey, I have to switch this to an FHA, what does that entail? It's a new inspection date, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
As long as we're not discussing value or anything about about condition of the property or things like that.
We can't coerce you and try to be like, dude, what do you mean? Like, I know you. We're in the local. I'm not gonna. If your kid's trying out for baseball, if you don't get me this value, he's getting cut. That's what they're trying to.
They're trying to avoid all that.
That's how it should be.
But at the same time, we're still both in the customer service industry.
Correct.
So the better that we can work together to make that as smooth as possible for the customer. As long as we're not influencing each other, as long as we're just doing it in hopes of efficiency and things like that, then we're in safe territory.
All right, so let's say an appraisal comes in low, and we're gonna get into how to prepare for an appraisal. But let's say it does come in low, since we're talking about communication.
Yeah.
But both real estate agents are like, we don't think it should be low.
Yep.
What's they're tough. These ROVs, reconsideration of value. They're hard.
Yes.
Right. But what do they do? I know it's comps, and how are they allowed to talk to you?
So it all has to go through the appraisal management
Correct,
company.
Yeah.
So basically the realtors and the lender can get together, figure out comps that they thought I should have used that I didn't. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest part, unless there's an aspect of the home that I didn't give enough value to. So let's say there's a 2-car garage and I give it X amount
Maybe
of
you
dollars.
didn't know about it. You missed something. I don't know if that even happens, but I guess.
Usually not.
No, that's what I'm saying. Usually not. You're there physically.
Every now and then a half bath with like a
secret
row
bathroom,
where
like
it's underneath the steps.
Right.
But for the most part, it's usually comps that they want us to use.
Got it.
That they didn't that we didn't use in our original report. And
sometimes they're pending sales, and you're like, come on.
But to be honest, I always want. This is why I think I'm going to jump a little bit here, but this is why you should meet the appraiser.
Yeah, let's talk about that of how to prepare then.
So in order to avoid reconsiderations of value, meet me there. Mm-hmm. Get there, give me all your comps, give me the stuff that supports your value. You're allowed to advocate. As a realtor, you can advocate for why the house is.
So this is let's talk. This is a purchase now, right?
Yes.
So you're recommending, all right, so we don't have an ROV, right? Meet me and tell me why you think you listed it here and why it's pending at this sale price.
Especially if you're worried about it.
Exactly.
Meet me and I might not use it. You know, I'm still going to go back and do my job, but at least I have an idea.
What if there was a home that just sold, like you said, and you have good documentation to prove that, hey, it didn't hit yet, like a new construction, whatever.
Right.
That can help.
Or in like the MLS, a lot of times we search by a radius. Sometimes the map's in the wrong spot. I missed the comp. Sometimes it's, I went out a mile, but this is 1.1 miles away, but it sold yesterday. So maybe it's a better comp than the comps I already have, and I just missed it. Doesn't happen often, but does happen.
But there's some laziness out there. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. I mean, if someone just gives you the lockbox code,
yes,
and it's just in MLS, or that's how they get, that doesn't help as much. Like, maybe be there, or have a conversation, or email you, like, here are the comps. I can't be there. Here's the lockbox, but here's what we think. That's awesome, right?
Yeah, and send me the improvements for the house. Make sure that I have all the features that you think are important toward why your value is your value. Make sure I have all that if I have all that information up front, it makes my job easier, because I do have that, so I can show an underwriter, like, if I am giving credit for a kitchen, hey, here's documentation from the realtor. It was renovated in 2015. All those factors help me. And then if you're meeting me there and provide me with that, like I said, I'm going to do my job the way I'm supposed to.
Sure.
But this way I make sure I don't miss anything.
Right. You don't want to. You want to try and get to that value the best you can.
Yes.
With all the info that you have. Obviously, you don't want to screw up the whole process for everyone. If you can get there, you'll get there.
Yeah. If it's supportable and it's part of the market, and the value's there, I'm gonna do my best to make a sales price.
Okay.
Sales price should be willing buyer, willing seller. Should be indicative of what the market is. And then when I go back and take a look, like I said, especially like this current market, more recent comparables were much more important.
Right.
Than if I went back 12 months and it was, a block away, it was a different market. Where if I have something that sold last week but it's a mile away, at least that's the current market. That's what that buyer for the subject property, that's the comparable sales they were looking at when they were making the decision on which house to buy.
Right.
So that is indicative of what the current market is. So if I have to go a little bit farther away to use a more recent comp, it makes sense. And now if you're providing that to me up front, I can see it. Makes sense. Instead of me having to go find it, I can see it.
Let's talk refinances then. Yeah. Totally different. You don't have a number.
I don't have a number.
Now, if you're meeting the homeowner,
yes,
are they allowed to say, this is what we think, here's the number we're trying to get to?
Not allowed to discuss value.
Value, that's where it can be weird, okay?
But they are allowed to advocate for their own home. So they are allowed to provide me with comparable sales.
They can give comps, but they can't really, you don't want to throw out a number.
No.
Yo, I need 300.
No.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. Now I've been influenced and given a target, basically.
We tell our clients to, hey, if you've done anything since you bought the home,
yes,
any upgrades you've done, just write it out. No matter how little it is. Even if you painted a room, just give them all the info. Any upgrades.
I'll determine which ones have an impact on value, but I want everything. Mm-hmm. If I have all of your upgrades, I'll know which ones should have an impact on value.
Got it.
I'll also be able to then look for comparable sales that have similar upgrades. So, if like you said, if you painted a room, put it on there. Sometimes it matters, little. Sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. And there's also a cumulative effect of that. So, if you painted all the rooms in your house and you put up some new trim individually, like if you did one room, maybe it doesn't add up.
So that can kind of help a little bit if you
can
paint
help
the
whole overall
house?
Condition.
Interesting.
So we have those condition ratings, C2, C3, C4 on the appraisal report. While it's hard to say, painting the house adds X amount of dollars, I don't have a number for that. But if you've done a bunch of little things that have all contributed to the overall condition, it might have an impact on what your condition is compared to others.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it should. I mean, if you do a whole bunch of little stuff around the house and fix it up and make it nice, it should have an overall impact.
Yeah, so if you're refinancing, and the toughest thing is, too, people, they do cash out refis. You see more of them right now because there's equity.
Yeah.
It's tough because they want to do things to the home, future things with the money they're getting.
Right.
But they don't have the money yet.
Yes.
So sometimes people might tell you that, we're going to do all this stuff. We're doing a cash out to add an addition or an extra bathroom.
Yeah.
But you can't take anything future into consideration.
It doesn't matter. It's what it is that day when I'm out there.
Yeah.
So hopefully...
That's a question we get all the time.
With the last 2 years, hopefully they've built up enough equity in the existing home to be able to pull out some and make the house what they want it to be.
Yeah.
And then they'll have the higher value in the future from doing those.
Exactly. So that's what you have to talk to clients about. But that's a question we get all the time. But I'm going to do all this stuff. I just need the money.
Yeah.
It's about what it is now.
And not everybody gets that money and then does the stuff.
That's another good point. You know, people say they're going to do things.
Stuff happens. Car breaks down. All of a sudden you need a new car.
Stuff happens.
That home equity line goes, to help you buy something else.
Craziest story when you're doing an appraisal that you've had?
I had a guy that was training pit bulls in his basement and just cut the half of the door off and was throwing food down the steps.
Oh, my God. So you've seen some really crazy stuff.
From both ends. I've seen houses where I felt I had to get out of there. And I've done houses that you walk through and you're like, oh, my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous being an appraiser.
It really was when we first started, when we needed to take every order. We stopped.
But now you can pick and choose a little bit, which is good.
A little bit, yeah. And our coverage areas have changed a little bit, and but I mean, we were doing pre-foreclosures where they still wanted us to go in the house with the people that were getting foreclosed on.
That's a tough situation.
Real tough.
I just hope we don't see.
I hope we don't see
some of
that
that
come back.
Because we're in a weird market right now.
We are.
But I don't think it'll be anything close to what it was.
I don't think so either. And from the last 2 years, most of the work that we've done has been, 10, 20% down at minimum. We haven't done many 2, 3, 5%. No. So people, and the market went up so much that people have equity. So even if we do have a foreclosure start to happen,
that'll happen. It always will in any market.
There's still equity in there, so the banks aren't going to be becoming.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we've seen equity jump 20, 25%.
Oh my goodness!
Now, are you seeing it soften a bit?
Right now, I'm not seeing it softening. I'm seeing it flatten out.
That's what I'm more saying. It's flattening.
Yes, we're not seeing anything start to dip really yet. There's still a decent amount of competition for the houses that are out there. There's not a whole lot of new construction. There's still not a whole lot of supply. And a lot of the people with the interest rates going up aren't putting their house on the market because they don't want to lose the interest rate they have.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not seeing an influx of supply. So there's still a good demand. We're getting 2, 3 bids on houses still. We're seeing things like contingencies come back, home inspections.
Yeah, seller's assist.
Yes.
Which is good. We need a more balanced market.
And I think right now it's balanced. I don't know what will happen in the next 6 months.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. But right now it feels much more of a balanced market.
Yeah, I expect it to level out.
Yeah.
And people get scared. They think it's going to keep dipping, which who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But if it has been appreciating 20, 25%, maybe it goes back to a normal 7, 5, So as long as we see it at least appreciating and not going below,
yep,
I think we're fine.
I agree. And leveling out for maybe a year might not be a bad thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if it just
kind of need a break
smooth,
anyway a little bit.
Well, that and with the interest rates are what they are right now, the cost for a mortgage on a $400,000 house is now the same as it was for a $600 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you need it to level. You can't have it go to $700 and now you're paying,
oh yeah, it's nuts.
$4,000 a month in
rates are up right now. It's a tough market, so we need it to balance.
Yeah,
100%. Talk about that all day.
We'll see what happens with it all, but hopefully we keep this balance for a little while and let people catch back up, and then we can go back on the increase.
All right, so I want to talk about, because that's been 30 already. So is that crazy?
Yeah.
Well, we could just talk about this crap all day.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how an appraisal's done again and where most of the weight is in comps.
So
bathrooms, rooms, square footage, would you say?
Location.
Okay, location.
First off, if you're in a PUD, if you're in a planned unit development, most of my comps are going to come from within that PUD.
Okay.
So if you have a set up neighborhood where they were all built at the same time, same builder, similar upgrades, most of my comps are going to come from inside that neighborhood, if not all of them. Then we'll expand our radius after that. Okay. If you're a more unique property,
they can be tough.
Yeah. So if you're not built in a cookie cutter neighborhood kind of thing, they're going to be a little bit more difficult. My radius is probably going to start wider. I'm going to look for more things that are similar to yours as I can find.
Got it.
After that, so now let's say...
That's what I want to get to, the actual houses, yeah.
So now there's 12 sales in that PUD we're talking about, and I'm going to narrow it down to the 4 that are the most similar, or the most recent. So... Which
one carries more weight? Most recent or similar?
Depends on the market. In this market right now, most recent.
See how complex this shit is? Okay, yeah.
In this market right now, most recent.
Most recent.
Just because we've seen such a great increase over the last 12 months.
Okay.
So using something from October of last year is not going to be as relevant as something that sold in August of this year.
Okay.
And then after that, the condition of it matters. So did you do a new kitchen? Did you have a new bathroom? Those are the big ones. Finished basements. Those kind of improvements, those significant improvements, are the ones that add the most value.
Okay, so adjustments then, right?
Yeah.
So let's say it's the same exact house.
Yep.
All right, so you're buying this house. There's a very recent comp. It's the same house, but one has an extra bathroom. How much weight goes
So what
there?
I need to do is I need to find paired sales analysis, it's called. So
I think I saw that in your thing.
I'll take the one. So I'll take that comp that had one less bathroom. It'll be in your report. And I'll make the adjustment for the bathroom. But in order to figure out what that bathroom's worth, I need to find another comp that has as many bathrooms as yours.
Got it.
So after we adjust for everything else, we'll adjust for per square foot, we'll adjust for finished basement.
Yeah, it's very complex.
The last thing left should be that bathroom. I should be able to figure out how much that bathroom is worth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's how that comes into play.
Yeah, exactly.
And because you always see, you have the values, and then you go like towards that middle of the first page, and it has like adjustments plus 5,000.
Yes.
That adjustment, does that get added onto the value?
Onto their sales price.
Okay.
So if you have a comp that's holding, let's say you're selling for $325 and you had a comp that's in your neighborhood at $3, and it lacked a finished basement, or let's not even say your sales price. Let's say one comp sold at $325 and one sold at $300.
Got it.
So they're paired sales. The one that sold at $325 had a finished basement, an extra bathroom, and was a little bit larger. The adjustments on that $300 should all be positive for those inferior
That makes sense.
qualities. So if it's smaller in GLA, there should be a positive increase. If it's less bathroom, it should be positive. In the reverse case, if your comp has a finished basement and the other one doesn't, it should be a negative.
Makes
So
sense.
it's going to be a plus or a minus. And what we're looking to do is with those comps, we're trying to bracket every feature. So if if I'm appraising a subject property that has a finished basement, I'm going to want at least one that has a finished basement.
Makes sense.
If I have 4 bedrooms, I'm going to want one that has at least 4 bedrooms. We're trying to bracket all of those features so that I can show through my work how I derived those adjustments.
So how many comps do you usually use, would you say? And that
right now,
first comparable is usually the best one, right? Because you see it 1, 2, 3, 4.
I try to put the most weight on the first couple in my report.
Got it.
The others toward the back pages of the report are usually there to bracket a feature so that I can show them where I came up with my basement adjustment.
Makes
where
total
I got
sense.
my bath adjustment, all that kind of stuff. But those first 3 usually carry the most weight, and the back ones are usually for that bracketing. Right now, we're probably 6, 7.
6 or 7's the
comps. And
average.
we have to have one listing for most of our clients, so one of those will be a listing to show that the market isn't.
So you can use a listing as a comp? Is it considered a comp? How's that work? Because we were talking about pendants.
In the report as a comp, it's more the bank's more worried about declining markets.
So a whole nother piece of this too.
So if there's no listings out there that support your current value, they're going to be a little bit hesitant.
Makes total sense.
They're going to say, well, what's happening in the market? The contract on this was signed 60 days ago. Is the current market, is it showing a dip? Are we about to head into something where these houses aren't going to be worth this in 60 days?
Yeah, because they're looking at specific areas and expanding.
Yes.
That's where, they're real simple. But that's why you have to go so local, location, like you said, recent location. Those are the biggest things.
And school district, obviously.
I saw that. That's a big factor, right? I didn't really understand that.
I haven't gone outside of a school district for a comp in probably 15 years.
Wow,
and that
really?
was like a 30-acre horse farm. It was when we first started. Yeah, there was no comps in the school district. It was in Central Bucks, and I had to go into another one.
So school district is huge.
Huge, gigantic. You have Lower Merion borders Philadelphia school district.
Totally
and
different.
It could be worth, the same house across the street could be worth 5 times as much.
So have you ever seen it where there's a road that divides a school district?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there's a house that's exactly the same over here, and you really can't use it.
And they're all especially around the main line, like Upper Merion to Lower Merion.
Makes sense.
Huge difference. If you're Philadelphia to Lower Merion, huge difference. But yeah, there's definitely those dividing lines. Downingtown to Coatesville out in Chester County. If you're on one side of it, it's a little bit more desirable.
That's nuts if you ever have it split like that. Really the same house, but you don't really can't really use it.
There's a development in Downingtown that's split between O&J Roberts and
an actual
Downingtown.
Development?
Yeah, it's it's a big townhouse development.
And they're the same houses, and there's a road that splits?
Builders, but it was all built at the same time.
Wow.
But there's actually one section of it that is O&J Roberts, and the rest of it is Downingtown.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts, and they all want me to use the comps from Downingtown if they're in the O&J Roberts section. I just can't.
See, I knew school district was important, but I didn't know how much weight it had. I thought it was always more square footage, location.
Nah, school district
recent.
First.
School district first.
That's
all right,
usually your driving factor. Most people that are buying a house in the suburbs are looking for, and even in Philly, Meredith catchment versus outside of Meredith catchment, and that Bella Vista area. huge. It's a huge difference. I mean, it could be 100, 200 grand difference.
That's
between
nuts.
the same row home, one block across Washington Street and one block the other way.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, all right, question I had too. Because we were talking basements.
Yep.
So most basements, or really all of them, are below grade.
Yes.
So let's talk about that because that's a big question. Obviously, we talked about adjustments, right, and doing that.
Yep.
But those are not included in the
gross
the GLA
living area.
Yeah.
Not at all. So and now with ANSI, with the new measuring standards, even if 1 foot of an exterior wall is below grade, it's all below grade.
Wow,
so
really?
Split levels. I used to be able to call that lower level.
Split levels are
gross
weird,
living
man.
Area. Now that's finished basement. So as soon as like the ones where the ground comes up to like the bottom of the windows.
Yeah. They cause issues every once in a while. Split levels, don't they?
Yeah. So and now what all it really does is it makes me more style dependent in my comps. I need to find another split level. So as long as there are other split levels out there selling for what yours is, I'm gonna have a comp.
Then you're in a better spot.
Yes.
But when you're trying to compare that to a non-split level,
yeah,
and people think that below grade, even though it seems like it's part of the house,
it does.
Because you walk in, then you go right downstairs,
yep,
or up,
and there's windows on all sides,
but that doesn't count.
It doesn't count as soon as it's 1 foot.
Do you think it should count? I mean, what's your honest opinion? Obviously,
it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So my job anyway is to analyze the market. As long as there are other split levels in your neighborhood, they should still show support. So there's a bunch of neighborhoods around here that have split levels and colonials in the same neighborhood, and they typically sell for about the same, as long as they're the same amount of bedrooms, that kind of stuff. So if I'm counting it as finished basement, I'm counting it as finished basement. I should be able to make up for those non-ANSI areas and still have it reflect what the market is showing.
All right, so if there's a colonial,
yeah,
and then it goes split level, then in the same street, split level, colonial, split level,
yeah.
But they're all kind of selling for the same. There's a way to kind of make sense.
So I can make adjustments for non-ANSI areas on an extra line in the report.
Okay.
I can also include it as finished basement and use the square footage of that split level is going to be that finished area is probably going to be larger than your colonial if they're the same square footage above grade.
Got it.
So it should work itself out. It just, like I said, just makes me more style dependent a lot of the time.
Makes sense.
So as long as I have a split level that supports your value, that I can show an underwriter, I can use the other comps in your neighborhood as well and make adjustments for those non-ANSI areas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Damn, this shit is complex, man.
Dude,
I've been doing this 11 years, and I just learned so much right now.
The ANSI stuff was crazy.
When did that come out?
March or April of this year.
Oh, so really? So talk about what that is then, the ANSI stuff. That's brand new.
Yeah, so all the gross living area has to be above grade.
Got it.
Even 1 foot
That's why we're talking about that.
And then all of your ceiling heights have to be 7 feet.
Okay.
So Cape Cod.
I remember hearing that, the 7 feet thing.
So there's Cape Cods, a lot of them in like the Westchester area, right outside the borough. They're like 6.5 feet tall. They were built in the 40s. They're older and they didn't need 7 foot ceilings. And so now they're only 6.5. So now I have to include those on a separate line. And again, just makes me more style dependent. I got to find another comp that's a Cape that has a similar kind of second floor that supports your value.
Wow.
And then old homes. Like I did a old farmhouse
tough to find comps
over in Collegeville.
Right.
It was tough to find comps already, but the whole second and third floor were only 6 feet tall. The door frame it just ran across the ceiling. So So now none of that second or third floor of that 3,000 square foot home counts as gross living area. So now I got to go out. I got to find other similar built style, same age that have that same kind of feature. The nice thing with that is with those older homes, they're giving us mostly approval for the exemption code.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to factor in ANSI or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's brand new for you guys, so things are kind of always changing in your world.
And it's a big change for the realtors because I'll still have a lot of realtors that sell the highest Cape in the neighborhood, and they bring me all colonials.
Yeah. And you're
it's like I gotta have a Cape.
Yep.
This is no longer ANSI. I can't call it the same. I need to have something that supports it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, thanks, man. Is there anything else you want to tell anybody about what you do? Anything. Like, this was very informative to me, and I hope it helps people out because if people can prepare up front for you, it's only going to help you.
Yes.
So those are the biggest things, like communication, meeting with you, give what you think. Listen, you still have to do your own report, but it helps. You want to get the highest value for people.
I'm not going to say
not that. But you want to try and figure it out if it's
I don't
legit.
Want to miss anything.
You don't want to miss anything. That's the word we're looking for.
I want to get the proper value on the report, but I don't want to. I don't want to submit what I think is the proper value and then
Correct.
have information.
That's what I'm trying to get at
later. That shows that maybe I was wrong with my first.
Correct.
So, or maybe that I missed something. I don't even say wrong, but that I missed something. I don't want to miss anything.
Right.
I want to have all the information I can have so I can put the proper value on that report.
All right, so last thing. So how can people hit you up if they have questions?
Fieldsappraisers.com.
Yep.
We're on Google. Like I said, we're one of the larger appraisal firms in Philly. So
local, family-owned, man. They're the best.
And for right now, I don't know when this is going to go out, but for right now, I know that all the reassessments just came through for Philly. We do all the tax appeal.
Oh, really? So you do that stuff as well?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're thinking about getting a tax appeal, getting the appraisal done, I think...
And that's for Philly right now?
That's for Philly right now. They just did a reassessment. So, and a lot of them went up 30-40%.
Are you still seeing a lot of tax abatements in Philly?
Most of them are starting to run out.
So they're coming up on that 7 or 10 year, whatever it is,
the
right?
10-year abatement, most of them are starting to run out.
Are they allowing them, like, new properties? So tax abatements are, like, basically done for Philly for the foreseeable future.
I would... Depends on what happens.
I know, all right.
Yeah, I don't want to say no.
I know. There's so much gray.
But a lot of what they were building in 07, 08, 2010, all that stuff, a lot of their 10-year abatements are coming due. So a lot of those are starting to pick up. Mm-hmm. They're starting to pay their taxes again. But what we had a lot of, like, I just did one in Chestnut Hill where it was assessed for 1.1 a year ago, and now it was assessed for 1.8 this year. So it went up 50% in their assessment. And, I'll go out and take a look and see what I think it would actually sell for today. Might help them. Their taxes went up 50%.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, as soon as your assessment goes up, the millage rate didn't change, so you're getting 1.5 times.
We've been seeing higher taxes in Philly as of late.
Yes.
Like, because I'll look and be like, I go pull up taxes, right?
Yeah.
Make sure this is good. And I pull up taxes in Bright, and I'm waiting to see. Oh, it's probably gonna be like $1,500 a year. Yeah. And I'm seeing more like the 5Gs now. In Philly.
They went through the roof.
Through the roof, man.
Yeah. A bunch of people that were paying $20 now have to pay $30 a year. If you're paying $5, you're paying $7,500.
Yep.
$7,500.
Everything's going up, man. Yeah. Inflation. That's a whole nother podcast.
And to be honest, it's been a while since they had a reassessment done in Philly. They probably needed it to correct for some of what they need to run the city. But a lot of the places got some homes got overvalued. Mm-hmm. And if we can help those people out and have them pay a fair amount for their taxes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it works.
Cool. All right, let's take your basketball shot, man.
All right, dude.
We're doing this. All right, you go back here.
All right.
First ever. We're going to try this out. You got to go behind the table. No one can see this.
All right.
So you get your shot, and then we end it. It's the ceiling and the rim. Yo, appreciate it, man.
Yo, man,
that was awesome. Yeah. I appreciate you being the first one.
Thanks for bringing me.
Yeah, that was cool.